Welcome to Haunted Homebodies, where Halloween isn't just a day, it's a lifestyle. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Sarah, and we're your guides through the delightfully dark corners of comfort horror.
Now it's time for your bedtime story. I was thinking about earlier that line from I was washing the dishes, thinking about Jurassic Park, because, you know,
Why not?
why not? Yeah. And I was thinking of that line that they say that's really iconic, life finds a way. And
Yeah.
I was thinking for us, our motto could be life gets in the way. Because I was like thinking of all these things I want to do and like talk about things I want to do for the podcast. I feel like every single time we're like, you know what, we're ahead of the game. We've got this. And then life gets in the way, you know? Not always in a bad way, but often.
Life finds a way to get in the way.
It does.
It
Oh,
does.
man. I feel like all you fellow millennials out there, you know, just life's expensive. Our bodies hurt. We have too much on our plates constantly. The job market is whack. They're not paying us anymore, but then they're like, here's a $500,000 shack that you can live in.
And that's without all the existential crises about the direction the whole world is headed in.
That's true. This is like tip of the iceberg. Like, okay, well that, and then also like all of the actually horrific things happening around the world. So, yay. Let's podcast.
We're gonna have fun in this podcast. You know what? This episode might be a good reminder that as terrible as everything is today, there were some dark times in the past.
Yeah,
it was a tough time to live.
Yeah. Is this gonna be gross? It's gonna be kind of gross.
It's gonna be a little gross. It's gonna be, definitely a little gross. Well, today, listeners, we are talking about the New England vampire panic, which I didn't know was a thing before.
Me neither. No, never had heard of it, but also the second that I read that it was a thing, I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure. That makes total sense. But I have a vague idea of what it was, but I'm excited for you to share more.
Yeah, I really just kept confusing it in my head with witch stuff and was like, no, we're talking vampires here. And it is very like distinctly different from like the witch trials or anything like this, or the werewolf trials of 18th century Estonia, 17th century, whatever that was. Because this wasn't a lot of like accusations. This was a trying to explain some bad stuff that was going on around the time. So to just kick us off with a little background, the panic occurred primarily from the 1780s through the 1890s across rural New England, which is a place that in present tense we know quite a bit about, rural New England. With the kind of like the overall story, there's these documented cases that you can read about of families like exhuming their deceased relatives, like digging them out from the ground, who were suspected of being vampires that were draining the life from the living.
It's so wild. Can you imagine? Can you imagine just these were probably still like the Puritans, right? The Puritans were just
that feels
doing their thing around New England, and they're such do-gooding little gremlins.
I know.
We've gotta dig up our dead relatives. I mean, it's kind of funny as a story if you pretend it's not real, but as a real thing, that's actually really sad. Oh my gosh, these poor people to just be that desperate. Like that's a level of desperation that I cannot imagine and hope that I never come to understand.
That is a really good point. I was also really shocked about how long a period of time this took place over, where like there wasn't scientific advancement to understand what was going on, which I will tell you about in a second, or like there wasn't like a new fad or like new idea of how to deal with it. Like that's 100 years of digging up dead bodies because they thought that the dead bodies were draining life from other people.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm so curious.
So why?
That's so weird.
Why did they think that life was being drained by dead bodies? this all coincided with the time of tuberculosis outbreaks, which was known as consumption back then, that killed approximately 25% of the population of New England in the
Wow.
1800s. Isn't that wild?
25%.
Yes, it's like super contagious, which is accounts for those numbers, but also why kind of like how this whole idea of vampires came about is because the disease would strike like multiple family members like right in a row, which made it seem like something supernatural had like entered the
Mm,
house or was near them or was after them, but it's
but it's just droplets. It's
just
just
how contagious
droplets
shit
of
works.
it's still something that like I hear about tuberculosis working in healthcare. It's something that you have to be like before every job, pretty much. I have to be tested for tuberculosis to make sure I have it. And if you are treating a patient, it's like a lot of precautions because it is so contagious. Like they have to be in a very specific type of room with a specific type of ventilation. You have to wear a specific amount of gear. Like it's thankfully rare, but it's out there still and
That's crazy
scary.
and
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
scary.
So basically what happened, families were getting picked off, like family after family, like one member of the family got it and boom, boom, boom through the house. So what happened is that communities started to believe that some of the corpses that they had buried that died of consumption remained undead in their graves and were like feeding on the family members. So we talk about vampires and everybody thinks like fangs biting in the neck.
Yeah.
This was like a much more ethereal idea of a vampire, which actually we are telling a serious story about a lot of people dying. But let me talk about one of my favorite ever TV shows, which is What We Do in the Shadows, which has an energy vampire on
Oh,
it.
yeah. I mean, we all know an energy vampire.
We do. That
Or
is
at
why
least
he's
one.
my favorite character on the show because he
Yeah.
is like so relatable. He like goes and sucks people's energy out under like fluorescent lighting or like the best scene, the absolute best scene is he calls an Uber and instead of being like a normal human being, well, not a human being, but instead of being a normal person who goes and sits in the back seat and like maybe makes polite conversation, he gets in the front seat with the Uber
Oh my
driver.
gosh. I went through a weird phase. I have to confess something. This is really embarrassing. But I went through a weird phase where like I had convinced myself that it was rude to sit in the back seat. Like I was like, this is so weird. Like it's just a normal, like it's like a Prius, and I'm going and getting in the back seat like I'm a freaking celebrity. And I started feeling really weird about it. And then I finally like broke out of the haze of this was like way just to give me a little credit. Like this was way back at the beginning where it was
Sure. We
still
didn't know
like
what to
we
do.
yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't know how to do this. It was very weird. But I remember like trying to get in the front seat and the guy had to like push the seat back, like shuffle of belongings. And then I was like, okay, this is so weird. Like there's nothing not weird about like, especially at the beginning, it just felt so weird to
Yeah.
just be getting in the back seat of some random person's normal car. And then they would give you like a
Yeah.
water bottle or like a Ziploc baggie of goldfish. And you just be like, thanks. I was living in San Francisco at this time, but yeah, I would never in a million years do that again. Ugh, but yeah, I did it.
This does remind me, I got in an Uber last week, also in San Francisco, and in the front seat, there was a teeny tiny little Chihuahua dog.
Okay,
It
yeah,
was
bring your
even
dog to
smaller
work
than
day.
Cinnamon. Yeah, it was
Oh,
cute.
Cinnamon's teeny tiny. She's 10 pounds, and now that I have a 30-pound baby, I'll pick Cinnamon up and be like, whoa, she's so light.
She's smaller than both of my cats.
Yes, teeny
Uh,
tiny.
all right, anyway,
Oh yeah.
the death and graves and stuff. Okay, so
Oh
they
yeah.
thought these dead bodies, well, undead people were like sucking the life out of people, but again, like in this like supernatural way, not in this like bite them with fangs and drink their blood type of way. Um, and they thought that the signs of vampirism were basically what like it turns out tuberculosis symptoms are. So it was like blood in their organs.
Yeah.
They would like say like a lack of decomposition was showing that they were undead, or like shifted positions in the coffin. Like they found like things that were symptoms of tuberculosis, and then like other things that like
confirmation bias, probably.
yeah,
Too.
basically, right,
Mm.
right. Um, so they were exhuming a lot of bodies, examining them, and subjecting them to some rituals, because of course that's how we're gonna handle this. Which
Witchcraft? Question mark.
not when the Puritans are doing it,
Right.
Ashley.
No, this is totally
No.
cool. Oh, yeah. Go
Yeah,
off,
this
queen.
God told them all to do it. So basically, like they would take out organs, like they would take out the heart and the liver, and they would burn them because that was
Whoa.
supposed to kill the vampires. This is my favorite one. Just turn the body face down. Just put it face down on the ground. Couldn't hurt you anymore.
Just planking in their grave.
Yeah. Yeah. Or classic, which I think also works on, regular vampires with the fangs, decapitation.
Whew.
Yeah.
These poor people were like digging up and decapitating their family members.
Yeah.
That is awful.
It
That
really is
awful.
sad. A little deranged too.
Yes. Yes. It is. It does feel like a big stretch to come to this conclusion. I'm sure they were desperate and had no idea. Like you said, they didn't have science or anyone to be like, maybe this could be happening. Isaac Newton, was he around? Could he have had ideas?
But like we're talking like late 1800s for
Yeah.
some of this. Like there were some scientific advancements then,
Right.
but rural
Yeah.
New England.
Yeah, true. So why would tuberculosis cause a corpse not to decompose?
Sorry, I just went right through like tuberculosis symptoms to just like things that might happen, like something it was probably colder outside,
Okay,
or like
okay.
there may have been some bugs eating it, and that's how it looked like it shifted, or
So they were
the
basically taking
gases.
anything that they found and were like, it's because they're a vampire, like
Yeah,
basically, like and there could
exactly.
have been like so many different explanations for so many different things, but they're like because they're a vampire. And
Yeah.
doesn't tuberculosis also make you like cough up blood so that just feels very vampire-y by today's standards?
Yes, like lots of blood involved in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that makes sense that you would think, oh, like that's kind of where I thought this story would lie, is that people were coughing up blood and that their relatives would assume that those coughing up blood were coughing it up because they had drank it. That's what I thought the
Oh.
panic was. No.
I don't know. I think it's too
logical.
logical.
Too logical.
Yeah. And speaking of illogical, this is maybe the grossest part to me. When they were like burning organs and things like that, the ashes were sometimes mixed into tonics that were then given to the sick relatives to try to cure them.
Yeah, that's oof. Okay.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm very interested in medical history, particularly dark medical history. So I feel like I would have, whew, I
There's
would
some
not have been
articles
able
linked in the
to.
show notes
Yeah,
if you'd like to dive deeper.
I'm gonna have to follow up on some of this because the amount of quote unquote treatments that people endured because people were just like, oh, let's just try this. Like that could have even, I would have totally believed you if you were like, the doctors in town were creating these tonics and giving them. Like that was the state of medicine for so long, where they're just like, just cut it, and like they're already bleeding internally and coughing out blood, and they'd be like, let's see if we can lance it and drain it. Let's see if it gets better. So bad. People just didn't have a chance. Like there was no hope other than like a lot of times medicine would just make your body like weaker and more vulnerable because they would be injuring you or putting in like toxic, difficult to digest substances. So just taking your
just like
chances and
like guys who
down.
thought they knew what was going on and how to fix it. That was it.
Yeah. They're like, this is the way, and everyone's
they
like,
obviously
okay.
weren't like actually looking at the results.
Oh, and now all the people who are like, modern medicine is bad and vaccines are bad, and then you're like, this is what it would be like. Like, this is what it was like.
We're gonna have another vampire panic. Florida, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, we're looking directly at you. I am so disappointed with humanity, just like overall. Not all of them. There's a lot of people fighting the good fight, but so many where I'm like, what is going on in your brain? I cannot comprehend. Anywho, vampire panic.
Coming back 2025. So I do want to tell us a little bit about like one specific case so we can see how this affected one family. So like a particularly, I don't know if I would call this famous case. I think I would. Like it was reported on the papers and everything. It's called the Mercy Brown case. So there was a family, the Brown family, who lived in Exeter, Rhode Island. A lot of this happened in Rhode Island, by the
Huh.
way. Like
Okay.
I know it's rural New England, but Rhode Island was like a big epicenter for this was happening. Which, good for Rhode Island because what else
Yeah.
are they known for?
I wouldn't have guessed we are going to talk about Rhode
I know.
Island.
You kind of forget. You kind of
Yeah.
forget about it.
Mhm.
So the mother, Mary Brown, was the first to die, and then a daughter named Mary Olive, was next the following year. It was 1884. Then their son Edwin fell ill in 1890 and was sent to Colorado for treatment. And I
Huh.
am, I will tell you what happened to him, but that seems like a long journey to make when you have tuberculosis.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a long way to go. And how were they traveling back then? Did we have like I am not
It's a good question.
right? Like did we have trains? I have no idea. Was this like the Oregon
1890?
Trail? Sorry, Evan. The Oregon Trail.
Probably also sorry, Evan, because I feel like he would know this history. I'm a
That's
bad
true.
student of history.
I hope he's in his lab listening to this, being like, "It was this."
I'll get a
We should
text
call
about it.
call into the podcast.
Yes. To do a live episode at some point.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so then, so remember, like we've started in 1883 with the mother, then there's Edwin in 1890, and then a 19-year-old sister of Edwin died in 1892. And when Edwin returned home still sick,
Oh.
the townspeople pressured him to allow pressured his father to allow the exhumation of his whole family, his wife and daughters, except his son, at that time. So Mary and Mary Olive showed normal decomposition, but Mercy's body appeared preserved, and she's had like still liquid blood in her heart, which was almost definitely because she had been stored in an above ground crypt during winter.
Oh,
and then it probably thawed like right after that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it was
just
January to March.
Preserved.
Yeah,
Yeah, very cold.
exactly. Yeah.
Especially back then, I'm sure it was extremely cold. And
Yeah. But regardless, they thought she might be a vampire, so they took out her heart and liver and they burned them. Made Edwin one of these famous tonics. But despite that, Edwin died 2 months later.
Oh gosh, this is sad. This is sad,
It's,
and
like,
also
took
that's a
out
whole
families.
family. That is a
Yeah.
whole, except for the dad. The dad,
Yeah, the
had
dad
to
survived,
lose
I
his
believe.
entire family, and then it's like, what's
Mhm.
left for you then? That's just so depressing. But
Mhm.
also, he made it to Colorado. He made it back, and then it was probably the tonic that took him
It
out. His
was
body was
probably the
like hanging
tonic.
on for dear life, literally. And then they were like, "How about this like yucky drink?" And it probably made him cough, and then it was it. That was his last cough.
Gross. Super gross. So this was like kind of a famous case. So the Providence Journal and other newspapers reported on the case. And then here is where we get into the vampires that we are more familiar with today, which is that some scholars believe that Bram Stoker's Dracula, which was published just 5 years later, was influenced by this, because apparently Stoker kept newspaper clippings about this incident.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still have to read that. I've
Same.
never read it, and I really mean to. I have really strong intentions to do it. It would be a great time during Vampire Month, but life gets in the way, as they say.
Life gets in the way, as Jeff Goldblum almost said.
Almost just could have said. He could have said it.
So we're having these conversations about like, did they not have like more sophisticated medicine and everything? But like an important thing to remember about all of this is that it was like really in the rural areas where these like practices and beliefs persisted. Like the more urban places like cities, this wasn't really a thing. And it certainly wasn't a thing for as long.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because it like didn't come out of nowhere. There's this like old world vampire folklore that like the colonists brought over, and that just kind of transformed into this once the disease started and they were looking for these explanations. And so these kind of more like isolated communities who didn't really have that much medical knowledge really latched onto that. And then the tuberculosis bacterium was actually discovered in 1882. So like some of this medical knowledge was around like before that whole Brown family story even started. It was discovered by this guy named Robert Koch. But the knowledge spread really slowly to rural areas. So they kept on keeping on with their supernatural explanations of how things were
Wow.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah, there's such a sweet spot in dissemination of information, and we've gone way past it. We've gone way past it. But we've kind
True.
of lived it. I feel like we probably lived the sweet spot, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We
Where it
lived it.
was
It was short-lived, where we
easy
were
to get
getting,
the important information.
yes, the
Mm-hmm.
really, really key stuff, and it still might have taken a minute, or you might have like missed things because we only had landlines, but
Oh, I miss
uh
them.
I know. I don't
Do you,
really miss like having to make phone calls. I don't miss having to call your your house to be like, "Hi, Mr. Kaimig, is Sarah there?"
okay, so like
Love Frank, but
I don't I did not feel fondly about it at the time, but
yeah.
now, like,
Oh yeah, I
I
would trade it.
definitely feel so nostalgic for it. Also, I have no idea
Yeah.
why this came up, but I was talking to Frank recently and recited your entire home phone number
Yeah,
by heart. I
yep,
still
I can say
definitely
yours right
remember
now.
it.
I think I only know mine and yours.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think
Yeah.
that's totally true.
That's so funny. We've called it so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, if I could go back, we could go back to that. I would toss my cell phone in the abyss in a second.
Yeah, happily.
Yeah.
Happily. You know
I'd
how
have
I
to
feel.
detox. I'd have to detox,
It would
but
be tough, but it'd be
yeah.
worth it.
Oh,
Do you know
100%.
that some parents now, instead of giving their kids cell phones at like earlier ages, are buying them landlines?
Really?
I'm like into this idea.
There's a lot of like going back to analog kind of stuff too. I've heard of like parents buying, like I have plans for when Jed wants a TV or something in his room. I'm gonna get him like a VHS player. Like he's not gonna be streaming. Like I'm gonna fight it. I'm gonna fight it
Yes.
as long
I
as I
like
can.
it. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to be like you can, and they're like probably won't be into it, but like more kids are buying like digital cameras. Like I feel like there is this like, oh, we want the technology, and then we see the price that we pay for the technology,
Yes.
and then we're like, maybe it's not worth it. I read something, this is going totally off the rails, but no, I read something that's cute. It was a reel. And it was some, comedy person, millennial comedy skits thing, and she was talking about like how we would go to the club and we'd come back and we'd be like disgusting, just drenched in sweat, mascara everywhere, like hobbit feet from like taking off our heels and walking around. And then apparently, I mean, we don't go to the clubs today, like they go and like they just like hang out, and they don't like often don't even dance. Like we were so horribly like embarrassing, but like no one was
Yeah.
recording us. Like we were just living our
Right.
life. And now it's
Oh
like everyone is
God.
constantly worried about like, well,
Mhm.
I don't want to like we would not have wanted to see any of that footage. Like,
No. No,
but it
no,
was
thank
so
you.
freeing, It was
Yes.
like such a freeing way like to live, to just not be like constantly under surveillance. It's just
It was
we're
a
really
better
down
time.
on the world.
No, you came for a story about vampires, and you came
Uh,
and you ended up with two bitter millennials.
Honestly, I mean, that's half our brand, so here we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have only one last piece of information about the New England Vampire Panic. That is my absolute favorite. Weird thing to have a favorite piece of. I recognize that. But there's so much of this where, like, you hear the stories, or like we've got, like, we do have some newspaper clippings to corroborate some of this. But I think what is so cool is that modern archaeological excavations have actually found evidence of these practices. So they've found, like, corpses with their rib cages broken and decapitated skulls, like all things that match these rituals. And I just thought that was fascinating.
That is. It's easy to hear some of these stories and like detach yourself from the reality that this is really wild that this happened. I can't believe it. And I feel like I don't have like the answers because there aren't any.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I'm looking for logic in a place where like they were not relying on logic to
No.
cope with what was going on, but the same time, it's hard to not put yourself in their shoes and been like, would I have been better equipped to make other decisions?
Right.
I don't know. Hopefully. Hopefully
We
I
can
wouldn't be.
only hope, and
Ugh.
hope we don't have to find out.
Yeah, man. Well, this is like Estonia. They're like, hey, we're all werewolves and we're proud of it. And then New England, we're like, we're sad. So let's like cut up our relatives and see if they're
At
eating
least
us
they weren't
supernaturally.
killing people.
That's
The
true.
people were already dead. It's just
Yeah.
weird stuff with dead bodies.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That was completely not what I thought it would be, but it was still interesting. So
New
thanks for
England
sharing.
Vampire Panic.
There you
Yes,
go.
yes. Well, Ashley, what are we talking about next week?
Next week? What are we talking about? Are we talking about Twilight?
We're talking about Twilight.
Oh my gosh, this is in the way of my document here. Okay, we are talking about Twilight. That's it. We're headed to Forks, Washington, discussing Twilight. We had big plans for this to like watch it together and do a whole thing again, and life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way.
I've said it once, said it 1,000 times in this one episode, but Anyway, we'll see you there. It's still gonna be fun.
See you in Forks, Washington.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of Haunted Homebodies. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
And remember, when in doubt, just stay home.